What are you doing yelling about politics in comment sections of videos that make one throwaway joke or statement regarding them, or zero of those? This has nothing to do with my last episode, I just see it online all the time. There'll be a news article about some actor and then the comments are all fired up like, oh, there goes the left, at it again. Or funny how the conservatives claim to have moral values when bibbity-boppity bullshit is happening. Like, what are you up to? The internet has given voices to people who should have their larynxes snapped in half. Do you think you're convincing anyone in those comment feeds when you make these tiny, insignificant jabs at your opposing point of view? You think anyone reads the words liberal cucks and goes, oh, I never thought of it that way before? That news story about Sarah Silverman is amazing. The one where she took a would-be Twitter troll, had a conversation with him as two equally existing human beings, and appealed to his sense of depression and loneliness, and came away with a new fan. That's incredible because what she should have done was press that block button and never look back. If you can't silence the voices, you can at least mute the speakers. I don't believe in appealing to the humanity of a fungus. If it's gonna grow, it's gonna grow away from me. And then you get the response of like, well, everybody's human and it's never our fault when we turn out to be awful. I mean, to an extent, I believe that. Here's a philosophy in progress that I am just now coming up with as I type this, so you know it's solid. Environment controls most of human development, even when it seems like it's working against what it's achieving. Like, you hear some rags to riches story of a guy persevering through hardship in a terrible environment, and you think, well, he still became a great whatever, so he was just born that way. The environment didn't matter. No, the environment was everything. It provided the challenge and opposition necessary to kick those personalities traits into high gear. That guy never would have made anything of himself if he was allowed to be complacent. We are all products of how we were raised. If you were raised different, you'd be different. It's not necessarily congruent, but if I had a hard life in the beginning instead of my suburban Christian utopia, I'd probably have a killer work ethic and I wouldn't be on YouTube, that's for damn sure. I'd be volunteering somewhere and donating to charity, maybe even going to church, and I shudder at all those thoughts. Would I still be funny? I got into comedy by accident when I was 13. My sister's boyfriend at the time brought over a DVD stand-up special, and I didn't want to watch it at first. But 10 years later, I'm starting to mildly consistently do open mics, and I've been projectile vomiting my musings in this series for the last 24 months. What would I even think if things went differently? All my opinions would change, my style would change because my influences would change. Fate is nonsense. Literally everyone on Earth is a very long list of accidents that all spawned from one giant explosion of an accident, so even if there was fate, it would be an accident too, which would render its significance pretty minor. I like immortalizing my so-called beliefs because I'll come back to those videos after a few months or couple years and completely forget I had said any of that. Then I either reaffirm my position on the subject or decide that it's dated, and probably a good amount of stuff in these videos is dated, so if you want to start some controversy over an episode in the 20s or something, you are late. I'm going to tell you something you already know. We live in a nation of fear. Fear-mongering is everywhere. It's where you expect it, like local news. 90% of all local news stories are just, hey, there's a rapist on the loose in your area with the keys to your house, and police are otherwise occupied, so watch out! Next up at 10, can kittens cause cancer? We arrive at no definitive conclusions. Fear-mongering is also rampant in the entertainment industry. Humanity is afraid of anything that's different. That's why every time in a movie an alien walks up and says hi to us, it causes a global catastrophe. We're taught to fear invasions, anal probes, conquest. Even when they say they come in peace, nobody believes them. In our conception of aliens as a whole, we also decided to make them disgusting and weird, as unappealing as possible to teach everyone who watched that they shouldn't be trusted, when in reality there could be aliens so attractive that they'd make you swear off human women forever, like Zoe Saldana in Avatar, or Zoe Saldana in Guardians of the Galaxy. I think Hollywood is hiding something about Zoe Saldana. I think, hear me out, she lives in Area 51, and she can change forms, so they just let her out sometimes to go make movies and save money on the costume and makeup budget. They made her a human in Star Trek to try and throw us off the scent, but I'm onto you. Zoe Saldana is a living, breathing extraterrestrial who crashed in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947 and does not physically age. Regardless, the point stands about fear. You know where else there's a lot of fear-mongering in Hollywood? horror movies. Didn't see that coming. They'd have us believe that all these spirits and creatures are just flat out evil. I simply don't believe that. You're telling me there's not one good poltergeist that helps you do the dishes or some shit? You see a bag of garbage floating down the hallway, it's taking out the trash. How nice of it. Just because things are different or you don't understand them doesn't mean they all want to just break every piece of glassware in your kitchen. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.